Yo, what's cracking everyone? Ericship 111 here. So for the last few days, I've been playing the Crew Motorfest closed beta, and unlike the 3.5 hour preview I got to try over at the Ubisoft office a couple weeks back, this time round I actually got the chance to not rush through it all and really digest what the Crew Motorfest is all about. Now for those who didn't play the closed beta, we got around 3 days to experience it. Of course, it wasn't the entire game. There was only a total of 5 playlists that we could try, along with the weekly summit or main stage challenges and a handful of PvP events. Now, as I was playing Motorfest, I was often comparing it to the previous title, which was of course the Crew 2, and seeing what improvements Ivory Towers have made over the last few years. And I will say, as a whole, although it's not perfect, Motorfest is a major step up over the Crew 2, so in today's video, let's talk about what the Crew Motorfest does better than the Crew 2. Starting off with number 1, graphics. There's honestly no comparison here. The Crew Motorfest absolutely obliterates the Crew 2 in almost, keyword almost, every way possible, from the map environmental details to the lighting reflecting off from different surfaces to the overall color palette. It just looks so much more vibrant than the Crew 2, which also results in the game feeling more livelier too. Now that of course also comes down to the map and its design too, which I will elaborate on later in this video, but yeah, for the most part the environment and the cars in Motorfest look far more detailed over the Crew 2. Now, I do believe, however, that there are a couple of interior details on certain vehicles that are incorrect, which never existed in the Crew 2, but then again, this was just a closed beta and could change before the game releases. Also, the roads actually have different textures, which is great, and more importantly, nighttime is actually dark, and better yet, there's working headlights, something that was a major issue back on the Crew 2. Also, cockpit steering animation has drastically improved. The wheel no longer feels like it's not even moving at all, and now has rotation over 180 degrees, which is a huge plus. But overall, I'm very pleased with the graphical improvements in Motorfest. I just hope for PC players that the game will be optimized so that you can run on more than 5 frames per second once it releases. And also, please fix the mirror reflections. Number 2, sounds. Now, if you guys want a proper example of some of the car sounds without any commentary between Motorfest and the Crew 2, I highly recommend you guys head over to Fastlane Gaming, as he compiled a great video with over 40 plus cars. So if you want to check out that video after this, I will put a link to his video down in the description below. But wow, the cars in the Crew Motorfest truly sound incredible. It's hard to explain, but they kind of sound more full and dynamic as opposed to the Crew 2, where in my opinion they sound echoey and kind of shallow, which resulted in the cars lacking character. I also love the way car sounds when they shift. You can almost feel the car's drivetrain jerking as you upshift, and don't even get me started with downshifting. It's literally one of my favorite things to do while I'm out in free roam, as the gearbox sound and delay mixed with the exhaust growling and sometimes even backfiring. It's just so satisfying to listen to. What makes it even better is depending on the vehicle, on top of the improved car sounds and the drivetrain sound effects, the shifting behavior of cars are different too. Old vintage vehicles take a lifetime to change gears, while racing cars or vehicles with a dual clutch transmission will shift incredibly fast but still give you the sense that the drivetrain is struggling. Major improvement here, and it was much easier to notice this time round as I was able to import my garage from the Crew 2 over to Motorfest. Number 3, Hawaii map. Now, don't get me wrong, to a degree, I missed the huge map from the Crew 2. I mean, we had a lot of different cities in that game with many different roads out in the countryside. It was great for cruising and doing city-to-city challenges with your friends. However, with that said though, map size isn't everything. There needs to be a sweet spot between the overall size of a map with real content that exists within it. In my opinion, with the Crew 2, the map was far too big in comparison to what it actually had to offer, which in a sense made the game feel a little soulless. Driving around didn't really evoke any emotions, or I didn't really feel anything. Couple that with the rather bland graphics, it was a recipe for mediocrity at best. Now with the Crew Motorfest, although the map is much smaller than the Crew 2, most of everywhere you drive is unique, exciting and fun. There are still many different types of roads you can drive on, a huge city to discover, lots of off-roading terrains to explore, and plenty of small towns and architecture you can visit. And what's more surprising is, even though that there are no pedestrians walking around in the Motorfest beta, the map has somehow been designed in a way to still feel like there's more life in Hawaii than there ever was in the Crew 2. Now with that said, I do hope that in the future, Ivory Towers do bring back pedestrians on the map and also expand upon the island of Oahu. With what Motorfest has to offer right now, the lifespan of the map won't last incredibly long. But the optimistic news is, because we have seen that the Crew 2 was capable of having such a huge map, perhaps introducing different islands throughout the coming years could be a great way of expanding down the line. Number 4, physics. Now, I did allude to this in one of my recent videos that the physics in the Crew Motorfest is far more realistic than it was in the Crew 2. Many players didn't want another game that drives like a Need for Speed, but more so a Forza Horizon title. And since the Horizon series is exclusive to Xbox and PC players only, guys with a PlayStation kind of been left out when it comes to open world racing games that have a somewhat semi-realistic feel. Now with Motorfest, the physics is almost in a class of its own. I don't think it's quite comparable to a Forza Horizon, but if we had to compare it to the Crew 2, the cars feel much heavier and grounded, and better yet, once you turn off traction control, accrue around an hour's worth of gameplay, and understand that you must brake before where the braking line actually suggests, then you will start to see where the in-game car physics have been changed. Certainly one of the biggest improvements the developers made with the Crew Motorfest. Number 5, user interface and menus. I'm not sure if many people have talked about this, but one thing I found quite frustrating about the Crew 2 was its menu system. To me, it was quite difficult to navigate, it was slow, and the design was just not appealing at all. But with the Crew Motorfest, it certainly seems like they removed many unnecessary options that would otherwise clutter the menus and simplified it so that only the important options can be accessed with ease. I just hope that once the game actually releases on the 14th of September, that they don't fill it up with stuff that will link you to their website on the forefront, because in the Crew 2, that's where things kinda got confusing. Always mixing the different car bundles along with new information, which pretty much already had a tab on its own. Just totally not necessary, but at least in the closed beta, I didn't have any of those issues. Easy to use and makes the game much more enjoyable to play. Number 6, unique playlist. I must admit, their attempt at making these playlists feel unique and different was quite enjoyable to play. Now, the first time you actually get to experience these playlists like Made in Japan or Electric Odyssey, I believe that's what the name is called, you are loaned a specific car to use. Then once you have completed it, you can then go back and do the same playlist, but this time with a vehicle of your choice. To me, I quite like that because it gives the playlist a reason to exist. It also helps guide perhaps those who may not know much about cars to actually experience how the playlist was designed. And I just love how each playlist introduces you a different way of driving or racing. I don't ever recall the Crew 2 having such a wide variety of different playlists at the beginning stages of the game. And although I'm unsure as to how many playlists there are once the game releases, I do hope that down the line they will further expand and introduce more different PvE playlists, because they stand out from your typical generic races. So there we have it, guys. Those are just some of the few things that I believe the Crew Motorfest does better than the Crew 2. Now for those that did play the closed beta, what were your opinions? Was it good? Was it bad? Share them down in the comment section below, as I do read all of your comments, guys. But anyways, if you guys did enjoy today's video, please make sure to smash the thumbs up button, as it really does help me out. And of course, if you guys would like to stay up to date with everything Crew Motorfest related, be sure to subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.